chapter 3, the Grossman model. And I want to go through the logic and the nature of the model once we start shocking the system. Okay, so what I laid out, and hopefully y'all have read the chapter, tried to digest what this model is doing, is essentially it gets to a decision pattern. It tries to explain the decisions, the health decisions of an individual, and it combines those decisions into three aspects of health. Us deciding how much we want health for ourselves to achieve happiness, the consumption piece, how we make health decisions to help us produce other things such as income, such as time to spend with our family. So health as a production input, which is a choice. I'm choosing to be healthy so I can work more or whatever. And then 3 is health as an investment. How much I'm putting into health now, how much do I want to put into my health now so that I have perhaps a longer life or happiness throughout life, or I'm able to generate income throughout life. So it's about a health decision. It's trying to model a real person's health decision throughout their life. And it makes a lot of assumptions like economic models do. So what the key point of these, the usefulness of these models are, okay, now when we get the shot, or when we get the model set up, how do various things affect it? How do various things affect our decision? So we start at some point, we have some point on a model where we have an initial, we want to see where we have an initial equilibrium. Okay, so person X has some level of income. They have some happiness derived from health. They've made a certain set of health decisions in their life, and they've achieved some kind of health outcome and happiness outcome. Okay, all the things that go into the model are set at some level for a person. That's going to be our initial equilibrium. Okay, and that's the starting point for our analysis. The second point, so the initial equilibrium, we have to understand all the pieces, how all the pieces are set up. Okay, so that's kind of implicit in that. Oops. Okay, second step here is then we do some kind of shock to the system where we change one piece. Okay, we change a piece, and so I have some shocks over here. I'm going to change somebody's income. We're going to change the price of a health output. We're going to look at this idea of efficiency. Okay, how a person turns resources into better health. Or we're going to change somebody. We're going to go back in time and change somebody's health when they were a little kid or something. All right, we're going to change each of those one at a time, and we're going to let that flow through the system. Okay, you go back to my graph, which it was kind of a flow graph, where there were arrows pointing from one thing to another. If we change this input, one of these inputs, how does it flow to the outcome of our decisions and our happiness? Okay, and then 3 is understanding that flow is kind of finding the new equilibrium. Okay, and then how did this looking at the effect on our decisions? Okay, we do something, does it affect our decisions? Does it lead to healthier behavior? Maybe that leads us to make policy recommendations. If we change something like a price or do something that helps people achieve health more efficiently, Well, that's what we want to do with our policy. Okay, so let's go through this, and let's do income first. Okay, so I will share my screen to the website. So if we look at, my graph here, okay, this was the high level big graph. We could think about how a shock of income, let's say that let's say that initially our income is pretty low. What are some of the basic aspects that a change in income, okay, income is right here, and let's say our income goes up. Well, the first thing that our income is going to do is it is going to change our ability to buy M and J goods. Okay, remember M goods. If I can buy more M goods, now I have more income, I can buy that fancy bicycle or better running shoes or the gym membership. Okay, if I buy those, that does give some opportunity to generate better health. All right. But it also generates the opportunity to buy other stuff. Maybe I invested in a new car instead. Whether I just do one or the other depends on my preferences. If I have preferences to get fitter and go to the gym, then maybe I'm going to make time decisions for greater time and greater spending in my health. If that occurs, then I will kind of achieve greater happiness, greater health, and greater happiness. Okay? But we should know that it's not guaranteed. Not everybody does that. So some people may put that greater income here, and they may put more time into, doing unhealthy things or doing things that don't generate greater health. They may be focused more down here, which will also give them happiness, but it does not give them greater health. Okay. So as an economic model, we're not saying this to make somebody feel bad. We're saying this to say, look, you can't guarantee that some greater income is going to lead to greater health. That's not a direct thing. So if I go on down to my model, we can look at this more specifically. Okay. With greater income, these are my indifference curves. Okay. With greater income, we're again on the income shock. Greater income allows me to, for this instance, buy more of the J-type goods that lead to those other activities, such as I have the example of junk food here. Okay. I could buy more junk food, which will not make me healthier, but it might make me happier. I could spend that income if I have preferences this way, I'll spend my income on non-healthy things. Okay. So that depends on my preference and my situation. Okay. So indifference curves. Oops, that's too dark. Indifference curves are dictated by my preferences and my situation. Okay. So will income lead to health? The answer is it depends on my ICs, my indifference curves, my preferences, and my situation. If I have preferences towards spending and achieving greater health, then I will put that income towards more healthy things based on my preferences. So my preferences indicate, my indifference curves, go back and do a review on this, but very briefly, my goal is to achieve the highest indifference curve I can. Person B here has indifference curves that go rightward. And so moving from IC1 to IC2 to IC3 indicates that person achieving greater well-being or happiness in life. That may be for me. I'm person B. If I'm person B and I get more income, I'm going to put it in healthy investments and achieve greater health. If, however, I am not person B, if I am person A, then my goal is not to move rightward, it's to move up in more junk food meals or more, let's call it more broadly, these Z-type experiences, not H-type experiences, not health, but other stuff. So if I get more income, I'm not going to spend, it's not going to generate better health, but it's going to generate happiness for other things. Okay. So for not everybody, an income leads to more health. Greater income leads to more health. It could lead to other things. Or on the left side here, I could have preferences where I get happiness from both Z and H. Okay. So if I get more income, some of it will go to H and some of it will go to Z. So I may spend some of my income on that gym membership, which leads to some greater happiness, but I'm also going to spend it on new patio furniture for hosting guests, for example. This person's set of indifference curves illustrates that. Okay. So that shock of income could go either way. All right. So let's go into our next. We don't know how income is going to generate what we're going to spend it on. Okay. That's what this piece on. What do we spend it on? Well, we don't know. We do know that greater income has the capability to increase health in Z. Okay. And how do we know that? Well, that you could show that in this graph, that's the utility to H graph, but down here, this is how we show greater income. So the person who is at, let's say my initial equilibrium was here. Okay. My initial equilibrium is here, where I have a low income. All right. So what can happen if I have an income shock where I get greater income? Well, I have a larger production possibility frontier. So after the shock, let's say that this is 0.1. After the shock, what can I do? Y allows me to buy more. I need to look at my notes here. More Y allows me to buy more M goods, which allows me to attain greater health. Also, Y allows me to buy more J goods, which allows me to obtain more Z. That's moving me from PPF1, where I have a limited ability to generate H and Z because I have limited resources. When income goes up, it generates this PPF curve, where I can have more M goods, more J goods. I can generate more health and or more Z. Okay. What I decide depends on my preferences. So the PPF shock occurs from Y rising. If Y goes up, my PPF moves out. That means I can produce more stuff, H or Z. Now, how I produce more, what I want to do with these greater resources goes back to what I just talked about, my indifference curves. Okay. So how depends on my indifference curves. I could move from 1 to, say, here, 2A. 1 to 2A means I have preferences for H and not Z. Or, so we illustrate, that could be someone's indifference curves moving to the right. I could also move from 1 to 2B. 1 to 2B after the shock and I have more income means I have additional preferences for Z, but not H. So that's the person who's going to spend a little bit more on the other way. Okay. But we're going to assume for here, we're showing a person that prefers both. So they would move, they get the income shock and they spend a little bit more money on M goods. They spend a little bit more money on J goods. That generates a little bit better or quite a bit better health, but also opportunities in both. Okay. This person gets higher in both and their utility goes up. Okay. So money is not happiness here. Money is not happiness. Money generates, income is not happiness. Income goes through several stages, and I'm very much simplifying it here, but it goes through several stages before it generates more happiness here. Okay. And then finally, so we've done the consumption piece, we've done the other piece. Okay. So we want to go to the investment piece here. And what are we showing? Well, how do I want to show it here? The marginal benefits of health. Better health makes us healthier in the future, okay, which has effects on, gives us greater benefits going forward, okay? If income is leading us to spend more on those types of M goods, okay, it's making us a more efficient kind of health generator of health. Okay. So again, going back to the assumption that we're going to spend some of our money on greater health, what it's going to do is it's going to, that generation in income is going to have an increase. It's going to lead to a greater investment in our health capital. Okay. So essentially, because we're getting greater income, it's hard to see that one. Because we're getting greater income, then being healthier, and it depends on how that income is achieved. This income, let's say if it's a one-off type income, hang on, my computer's messing up here. Okay, if it's a one-off income, if it's just a one-time increase in income, I should have made that clear. We might use it to buy a new dishwasher or a new car, okay? And it won't go into any immediate health. It won't go into, say, a gym membership where we have to keep on paying it. But let's say if our income went up and we put it into those kind of continuous things, such as the type of the bicycle, the indoor bicycle that you're going to ride over time, the gym membership, running shoes where you take up running. That increase in income has increased kind of your ability to generate health, okay? Which every hour that I spend on doing a healthy activity, maybe I was just walking before, but now that I have my new bike, I'm doing some biking or something like that. It could be spent in a way, if income is spent in a way that generates greater health efficiency, okay, efficiency, oops, efficiency. That means my time is producing more health than it was before. Okay, so my time is perhaps more efficiently used, which income can do that. If you can get better stuff, better types of M products. Okay, for an example, with low income, I'm wearing crappy shoes. They're more likely to hurt my knees, hurt my feet. Maybe I only run twice a week because I have to recover more. All right. So my efficiency in producing better health is poor. With greater income, maybe I can buy the better shoes. Shoes, and I was a naysayer before, but I experienced it. Maybe when you're young, you don't have to worry about them. When you get to be closer to 40, you do. But having better shoes means I have less ankle problems, I'm having less knee problems, less heel problems. And instead of just being able to run twice a week, I'm running 4 or 5 times a week. Okay? That's a direct way where income has made me, my ability to achieve benefits in health are greater. So whereas before I was at 1, at the low income state, low income, my low income equilibrium, now I'm increasing to 2, where I have with a higher income. Now it doesn't have to be this way, but given my preferences, what have I done? I've increased my optimal health decisions up. Okay. Now those tiny investments I'm putting in my health now are generating greater health for me in the future. Hopefully by being healthier longer into my 70s or something, maybe being able to live longer. Okay. So this rightward movement is an indicator of my greater overall health hopefully throughout my lifetime. Okay. Any questions on that? But that's how the small shock of income kind of permeates through the model. Okay. It's not guaranteed that health or income leads to greater health because we have preferences. We spend our money in different ways. But if I spend it in a wise way that is towards healthier activities and towards me being more efficient in my generation of health, then it leads to higher health and higher health decisions and higher health capital throughout life. Okay, so the shoe example is a nice one, I think. Do y'all have any other examples? Like what would be another type of you get some income, you invest it in something that would lead to that decision and that health outcome, or vice versa, maybe something that doesn't. There's some examples in the at the end of chapter book that really force you to consider these and these mechanisms, how they might occur. So I'll leave that to y'all, but I think that's